Hi, my name is Natalia. Welcome to our monthly broadcast. I'm here with my colleague James. Today, we're going to be discussing 4 topics. Then we'll have a Q&A section right at the end, so stay tuned all the way, and then you can pop your questions in the chat, and we will be responding for you.
Today we have 2 main topics we would like to discuss with you and inform you about. The first one is the ending of the quarter stock program within Amazon Europe, when this comes into effect and how it's going to affect your business. And secondly, Avalara leaving the Amazon VAT services program within Europe as well. We're going to go into the detail of both changes within the Amazon space for Europe and how that's going to affect you and how we can support you move forward.
My colleague Connor will be joining me to discuss the changes of Avalara. As you probably know, Avalara is leaving the Amazon VAT services, so we just want to inform you how this can affect you and what it is that you need to do moving forward.
Following on from that, I'm going to be joined by Patrick, who's going to discuss with me about the call of stock program and the changes within Europe.
After the discussion about call of stock, Ellie will be joining to discuss EPR, and if your product falls under 2 categories, which one you should be choosing to register in.
Next up, we're going to have Laura join us to talk about Netherlands and the introduction of Netherlands into the Pan-EU program within Europe. She's going to talk about how this is going to affect you and how you can actually benefit from this change.
And at the end, as always, we'll be having our Q&A section, so just make sure that you start putting your questions on the chat, and then right at the end, we'll answer these, but you have plenty of time to put them on there, and then we'll be able to answer them. If you're an Amazon seller under the Amazon VAT services, you're probably aware that Avalara are no longer one of the tax providers offered. This has been news recently, and we just wanted to make you aware of it if you haven't heard of it. And if you have, then what are the options that you have and how we can obviously support in this transition?
So Amazon would have sent an email with a consent form giving you the options that are available to yourself. There are 2 options there. Stay on Amazon VAT services, a like-for-like service with a new provider, or you switch over to more of a premium professional service. This is done via an email that Amazon have sent via the consent form. Once you've accepted the consent form, you will be introduced for an onboarding call with an agent here at Avast on how to complete the transfer. Now, a lot of questions that I have been receiving from a lot of my clients recently is who's liable for that?
Yeah, it comes up a lot because obviously with this transition, it wasn't you choosing to switch over. It was because your provider is no longer existing under the service. So it is still you liable. So just make sure that when you're switching over to your other provider, you tell them what day you want to switch over to. So it could be that you want us to file from the 1st of July, or you want us to file from the 1st of October. Either way, we can obviously coordinate this. It's not a problem. But it does come up a lot in conversation. So yes, you're still liable, but do just tell us when you want us to take over from, and we can do this transition without a problem.
Yeah. Additionally to that, I would want to mention that Avast will not be talking or communicating with Avalara regarding this transfer. This is solely on the seller to do this yourself. So if you are looking to change the provider, you have been sent the details. Now you can also get in contact with us directly on how to complete the transfer. Now, another thing that I do want to mention today is the last filing will be completed as of October, so you will effectively have no tax provider as of the 1st of November. Now, that's coming into Q4 this year, and as we all know, Q4 is a big time for sellers. So we want to make sure that you are registered and the takeover has been completed.
Yeah, of course. So a lot of people are asking whether the VAT numbers are still active, and yes, they will still be active. So it's just a switch. And by having these VAT numbers active, you can make sure that during Q4, you can sell as normal, nothing's changed, and you can make use of this big period of selling. So Avast will essentially become your provider as of the 1st of November or before, if you would like to, that's not a problem. And then we will continue filing. The biggest difference about the filing, which has also come up a lot in conversations, is who will be filing. Because previously, you would have had it all under your Amazon Seller Central. Now it's actually on a separate portal dedicated completely to the Avast clients. So you will see all your filings on this portal, and you'll be able to just check where we're at each month or every quarter, depending on your country, and just make sure that everything is up to date.
The one last point I want to mention is timeframes. Now, what we're working towards is with the tax authorities is timescales. We want clients to move over as soon as possible. This reason being is there's no delay with the tax authorities, making sure this is a seamless takeover process and making sure that you can continually sell without any breaks or penalties.
Yeah. So I think just to finalize, obviously there is a big change with Amazon VAT, with the provider leaving the services. But I just want to make sure that all the sellers listening today, don't be worried. There are options for you, and companies like Avask are here to help you. So just reach out. We can do the switch and just keep your numbers as they are. Well, if you do have any questions, just pop them on the chat. There's also going to be a QR code on screen that you can scan, and it will take you over to our blog. So you'll have loads of information on there, what it is that you need to do, our contact information. So you can scan that, and then any questions, we'll be answering it at the end of the broadcast. Thank you.
I'm joined today by Patrick, one of my colleagues here, to talk about the changes within Amazon Europe and the effect Call to Stop will have on your business if you did take part in it, and how the program actually worked and how it's going to work out in the future, seeing as Amazon's going to cancel it as of the 1st of August. Patrick, perhaps you could give a little bit of detail of what the program was and when it was introduced?
Yeah, of course. So the program was introduced at the beginning of this year by Amazon as a way of allowing sellers to expand into more countries without necessarily having to obtain VAT numbers in each country. And they've done it by taking advantage of an EU legislation, which allowed them to essentially store goods in further countries such as France, Spain and Italy by having just one VAT number in Germany.
Yeah, precisely. I think, one of the major reasons why Amazon actually implemented this new program so suddenly out of nowhere was because they saw a sort of an area and see it sort of as a stepping stone for sellers to actually move along from the EFN network, so the European Fulfillment Network, across to the Pan-EU was quite a big step up, and typically to get those VAT numbers, it would usually take 2 to 3 months. So they saw this program as a way for sellers to actually be able to expand into those other markets a lot quicker to test whether their products would sell, whilst at the same time getting their VAT numbers. So this was one of the major reasons that they implemented it, to actually support you guys as sellers to be able to expand at a quicker rate. But ultimately, they did see the end goal for you guys to actually be storing within those foreign countries on your own, with your own VAT numbers, as the Call of Stock program only allowed you to store those goods under the guidance of Amazon for up to 12 months, which is a bit of a constraining thing, although of course you'd look to be selling your products a lot quicker than that. The 12-month threshold was pretty quick. Now, the effects and the changes are coming into effect, I think it was the 1st of August, we both mentioned. But what are those changes going to look like, Patrick?
So the main change that sellers will notice is actually in the FBA fees, which are being charged. Whilst taking advantage of the Call of Stock program, at the moment, Amazon is charging the domestic FBA fees in countries such as France, Italy, Spain. And this is because of that advantage that sellers currently have by storing goods in those countries. The orders are being fulfilled on a domestic basis, hence the domestic FBA fees. However, from 1st of August, Amazon will actually start charging the cross-border FBA fees.
Not only will it affect those cross-border fees, it's also going to affect the delivery times. As ultimately by the end of August, Amazon will start to look to move all of the goods that you may have stored in those foreign countries without VAT numbers back to the initial country that you inbounded the products into. Now, the opportunity here for you is within that period of the 1st of August and the 31st of August is whether you have the opportunity to actually activate the Pan-EU program. Now, the Pan-EU program will allow you to store in those foreign countries outside the main one that you inbound into, but it will require you to have those VAT numbers. Now, if you don't activate the Pan-EU program between the 1st of August and the 31st of August, what Amazon will do is they'll take the goods out of France, Spain, and Italy and take them all back to Germany, where you may have initially inbounded them into, which is obviously going to affect your sales trends within those other markets. Now, we keep talking about the Pan-EU program and the need for VAT numbers. Now, this change is coming very, very soon. We're currently in July. The effect is literally coming on the 1st of August. In terms of the next steps for you to ensure that you can still sell in these other markets, actually ensure that you're in a good enough position to sell for Q4, which is also just around the corner. We like to forget it, but it is also on the horizon. The VAT numbers are the key to allow you to store in these other markets, benefit from the local fulfillment rates and actually quicker storage. So how long do they usually take? We say 2 to 3 months. Is that sort of what we're seeing on average, or perhaps you get a little bit more detail, Patrick?
Definitely, yeah. So typically, like you said, 2 to 3 months is the average across most countries. There are certain countries where perhaps it may take a slightly less time to register for VAT. However, there are other requirements which may affect the timeframes, such as in Spain, for example. To register for VAT, you have to apostille and notarize some documents, which then again takes time, and depending on the country that you're based, it may take time to get that appointment to notarize and apostille the documents. So 2 to 3 months on average, we would say, is probably accurate. However, with Q4 approaching, more sellers are likely to be not only registering for VAT, however, the tax offices will also be taking their breaks and we'll be processing those registrations at a slightly slower rate. So we would advise to start acting as soon as possible.
So in effect, the right thing here is to actually begin that registration process for the VAT numbers sooner rather than later, to ensure that you're in a good position to actually get set up for Q4, ultimately. Now, these are sort of the major changes we've seen within the Call a Stop program within Europe. The key dates are, of course, the 1st of August is when that cutoff point is beginning, and then you have till the 31st of August to opt into the Pan-EU program. If you don't, then your goods will all be taken back to the inland country. There will, of course, be further updates from Avast and also Amazon in the coming months and weeks. So stay tuned. And of course, if you do have any questions, please do reach out to a member of the team. I believe there will also be a QR code down at the bottom of the screen. So if you do have any questions, you can either scan the QR code, or as mentioned, there is going to be a live Q&A session at the end of this broadcast. So do put your questions in the chat.
In France, extended producer responsibility for toys covers a variety of different items and often causes confusion surrounding the nuances of registration requirements. The toys sector includes outdoor games, indoor games such as dolls, plush toys, construction sets, and action games, as well as board games and puzzles. Additionally, toys given free of charge with another product, like in a children's meal or magazine, are also included. However, certain items are excluded from this category. Any battery-operated, electric or electronic toys are not covered due to the risk of fires in sorting centres. Similarly, writing and drawing materials, sports and leisure articles, and animal toys are also excluded from the toys sector and fall into other categories within the legislation framework. This differentiation ensures that producers are responsible for the end-of-life management of toys, promoting correct and safe recycling and overall reducing a seller's environmental impact. If you have any doubts on which category your product falls into, get in touch and the team will be happy to help.
You may have heard that Amazon have added the Netherlands to their Pan-EU program. So what you'll need to do in order to use Pan-EU is activate Amazon.nl, the platform. The same product restrictions apply, so if you have any particular products that cannot be sold on Pan-EU, that will still apply, but for most products you will be able to activate it as normal. You won't need to register for VAT in the Netherlands, you won't be holding local stock within the Netherlands, so that eliminates that obligation for you, but what you will need is stock in other countries in Europe, as you would as part of Pan-EU. So in Germany, for example, if the goods are sent from Germany to the Netherlands, you will be charged a local fulfilment fee with FBA. If you need more information on this, you can scan the QR code on screen and check out our blog.
Well, hopefully you've taken something from the previous points, talking about the Amazon Avalara transfer, the end of the call of stock scheme, and also the changes to sort of the Pan-EU program and sort of EPR. We've seen a list of sort of comments and questions come into the chat, which we will get to in a moment. But I believe, Natalia, you would like to, say something.
Yes, I just wanted to announce that Avast will be at the Amazon Accelerate event. This will be in September. The QR code is on screen right now if you want to just scan that and obviously register. As always, it's in Seattle, so hopefully we'll see you guys there. We'll answer the questions now, but it'll be great to see some of you in person, have a chat about what it is that you're doing, how we can help you, and answer any questions in person this time.
Exactly. It's always a good opportunity to sort of meet up with other sellers, learn different tactics, and learn about sort of the changes that are occurring within the platform. So it's always very useful to attend if you have the opportunity and, of course, the time. So, this is going to give you guys a few more minutes to sort of put some questions in the chat. I know that there have been some questions that have come in about sort of the Avalara transfer, the call of stock ending, and a few questions even about sort of the Pan-EU program and also Netherlands. So we are going to sort of ultimately answer a few of your questions. So I'm going to give you a quick moment to put them in the chat, and then we're more than happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, perfect. We'll go ahead and start from the top downwards. So we'll go with the first question just as they came in. So this one is a company located in Norway, and you're asking whether you need to have an office in Germany to get the German VAT number. The answer is no. There's no need to be incorporated in that country, and this applies to everywhere. So it's not just in this situation. You don't have to be incorporated in that country to get the VAT number. We will register the Norwegian company for VAT in Germany.
Exactly, and more regarding sort of the office, and probably what the meaning behind that is more the registered address, is primarily for the tax office to be able to send you certain letters via post, which most tax agents will offer their own address within that country to utilize. So that sort of answers the question. You won't need an office in Germany to be able to register a VAT number. So we've got another question here from Matt. So, we're working with Avast externally to the Amazon VAT Services program. Do we have to file ourselves every month the VAT and EPR? I think it's a very good question. It might be worth sort of explaining the differences between both programs, maybe, Natalia?
Yeah, of course. So obviously with the changes with Avalara, obviously this is now switching everything. So you're no longer going to be under the Amazon VAT Services. You're going to be with Avast, just on a separate service. So we have two services right now. We have the premium services, which includes unlimited consultation, everything that you need, which also answers a question that's coming up next. And then you have the more basic services, that is the one that Avalara is switching over to. But in neither of these services do we require you to file. We will take care of that. We will file in all the countries. We have integration with Amazon, so we will export the sales reports, so you don't even have to do that. So we will export the sales reports and we will file. So I hope that answers your question.
Definitely. I think that's probably a very good overview on sort of the differences. I think the key difference is primarily the sort of Amazon service that, the takeover from Avalara is more of a self-service. It's sort of more for beginners, perhaps on Amazon, who are sort of developing and learning. And as your business becomes more complex, and there's a few other questions in the chat which we're going to address with regards to OSS and other things, it does make sense to sort of utilize the more core service that we provided more long-term, and where we take on the responsibility to read the tax office letters that are sent to you and so forth. But if you have any other questions on that, pop them in the chat, reach out to one of our colleagues, and I'm sure they'll be very happy to sort of answer any questions you might have.
Next up, how do we avoid paying for the cross-border FBA fee? Well, very simple. You need to store in the country. So Pan-European is probably the best program that you can select here. You would have to have the VAT number in that country to store, but that means that your inventory can be locally fulfilled in the FBA, and then you no longer have any cross-border FBA fees.
Exactly, and I think just to sort of round that off, in effect, if you are storing locally in one of the Amazon countries, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Poland, the Czech Republic, you're going to benefit from a few things. You can list with Prime on the website, which helps with traction. You're going to get a quicker delivery time to your consumers, and also it's the FBA fees that are going to be reduced. It'll be the local fees instead of the EFN fees that are slightly higher. So hopefully that sort of covers all the questions on that point. We'll go to sort of the next question here. So we have, another follow-up on the call of stock program. In effect, if you did not opt into the call of stock program, and you would, continue to utilize the Pan-EU program, whether it was sort of, the 4 VAT numbers, or you scaled it up to the full 6, and that is also expanding with Netherlands, as we informed you, there'll be no changes to you. So there's nothing necessarily to worry about on that front. As nothing will change. They're separate programs in effect.
Yeah, for this case particularly, I assume the 4 VAT numbers are Germany, France, Italy, Spain. The only thing that you could do differently is add Poland and the Czech Republic, and this would give you an actual lower FBA fee, even more so than what you have now, because when you activate those 3, Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, it lowers your FBA fees even more. So that's the only thing that you could do differently if you would like to. But as you're doing it now with the 4 VAT numbers, is absolutely fine.
We'll pick up sort of the next question. I'll let you take this one on.
Next up, we also have a Pan-European program seller. And this time you do have all the numbers. That's great to see. You're also registered on the one-stop shop. Is it mandatory to register in Netherlands for VAT? You don't obviously store in Netherlands. So no, this is what my colleague Laura was explaining. Netherlands is part of the Pan-European program right now, in the sense that you have to activate the listings. So it's just the listings that you have to activate to remain in the Pan-EU program. You don't need to register for VAT. Amazon does have a warehouse in Netherlands, but it's by invitation only. So you could register for Netherlands VAT and use this to store in a 3PL warehouse, which we actually recommend to a lot of our clients. It's as Netherlands has really good imports. So you could import into Netherlands and use your VAT number to get a 3PL, and then use that 3PL to drip feed into the Amazon warehouses. So this is the best way to mass import into the EU, make use of the Netherlands import scheme, and then store in Amazon. But for Amazon purposes and Pan-EU, all you have to do is activate the listings in Netherlands. I don't know whether you want to add anything to that.
No, I think you've covered all bases there. I think Netherlands is definitely a growing market within the Amazon space and also the e-commerce space generally. So definitely one to keep an eye out for. You only need the VAT number if you intend to store there. Otherwise, you won't need it. But ensure you upload those listings to the Dutch website. We'll sort of look at one of the other questions that's sort of come up once again within sort of Netherlands VAT. OSS is a bit of a funny one to answer the first part of that question. It's primarily only necessary for an EU incorporated business selling on Amazon. If you're not an EU incorporated business only selling on Amazon, you won't need the one-stop shop return. Okay. The second part of that question, I'm going to let you sort of answer in terms of what else do we need to join the Pan-EU program. In that, I'm sure we can go into sort of a bit of the EPR side there and also the VAT numbers, Natalia.
Yeah, exactly. So apart from the VAT numbers, you also need to have EPR into consideration. So EPR is a fairly new regulation that's come in, and it's all to do with the product that you sell. So everyone's actually going to have packaging as a given, but some of you might have electronics or batteries that you might have to register to. So keep this in mind when you're activating Pan-EU. In particular in Germany. Germany's become very strict with this. And unless you have the EPR registration number, you actually can't activate your listings in Germany and join the Pan-EU program. So that would be the only consideration that I would add, aside from the VAT numbers, of course.
No, precisely. I think that's a good explanation. We have another question here on the benefits of registering for VAT in Netherlands. Even if it's not required for the Pan-EU, it comes down to your strategy and what you're looking to do within sort of the next 2 to 3 years. Eventually Amazon is going to open up the warehouses within Netherlands, we assume, to sort of the general public within the Amazon space. And naturally that will come with the lower FBA fulfillment rates. I know at the moment, in terms of just listing in Holland and then fulfilling from either France or Germany, I think they're offering reduced rates as it is at the moment.
Exactly.
That will obviously eventually end, and they will encourage you then to store locally within Netherlands. But as Natalia mentioned earlier, if you have the situation where you're importing from outside of Europe and you're doing a mass import from Southeast Asia, let's say, it always makes sense to have a 3PL somewhere. Commonly we see Netherlands, so you can keep your goods there. And in that situation, you would require the VAT number.
Yeah. So there is benefits, but it's not a requirement right now. So if you would like to, you can obviously make use of it.
Exactly. So there are a lot of questions about Netherlands today, which is good. We're here to answer them. And so keep those questions sort of coming in the chat. I'm more than happy to address them. So, we recently deactivated our Netherlands VAT number. Okay. Is Amazon storing stock in Netherlands for the Pan-EU program? So in effect, to reiterate.
Yeah, same thing. They're not storing it unless you have physically moved the inventory into Netherlands. Amazon won't be storing there for you. So it's okay that you've deactivated the Netherlands VAT number. But just as we said previously, if you do want to have a 3PL in the future, or when Amazon opens up warehouses for everyone to use, then obviously you can reactivate this number and use it.
So if not, what is new? Because Amazon Netherlands has been up and running and fulfilling orders from Germany and Poland for a couple of years. Exactly that. The only new thing is that they would like everyone to activate the listings in Netherlands. And as you rightly say, they would fulfill from places like Germany or Poland. Thank you.
We'll move on. So just to clarify, I don't think that's necessarily a question. I think it's just a sort of a support from Matt within the chat. So thank you for that. So just to reiterate once again, Amazon aren't making it compulsory for you to store. Just to clarify, they're making it somewhat compulsory as part of the Pan-EU program to list your listings there. So there's obviously a difference between having local storage and listing on a marketplace. So I think that somewhat covers that specific point.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
But I believe Charles has a question here. So it is true in terms of the bare minimum for you to activate the Pan-EU program is two of the 4 core countries, which, as Charles has correctly put there, is Germany, France, Spain, and Italy.
Yeah, and that's still true. You can pick any 2 of the ones on screen, and then obviously activate the listings in Netherlands, as we mentioned. So that's still in place. So I know that this is of the themes that you're discussing, but can you provide commercial liability insurance for Amazon in the EU? So we are aware that Amazon has sent a mass correspondence about this. Avast don't offer insurance, but we do have partners that would be able to help you. So if you just want to get in contact with either James or myself, we can send you across the name of our partner, and they would be more than happy to help. Exactly. And the same for anyone else on the chat.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the product liability insurance, the commercial insurance, it's something that's sort of been in place in the US for several years now. Yeah. As we commonly say, anything that happens in the US takes 6 to 8 years before it makes it to Europe. So it's something standard in the US already to an extent, and so that's coming to Europe. But yes, we have an external partner who will be well positioned to support. So reach out to us. We're more than happy to help.
So do Avast file the Avast ATS imports to the EU for VAT import report, and do we need to dedicated service for this file type? So yes, I mean, any import into the EU or the UK, we will file, and we will obviously reclaim the VAT where necessary. There are some countries that don't have import VAT, so there'll be no need to file and reclaim any of it. But I don't know, James, if you have any more.
Yeah, I think, in terms of the Amazon Avast ATS solution, just for those who aren't aware of it, it's a promotion between Avast and Amazon to send your parcels either from the UK across to Germany and France, or from Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Austria, and Poland now back to the UK. So they are 2 separate services in terms of the logistics side and also the tax. Ideally, you'd be using Avast for both, so we can do the customs clearance for you and then also report the tax. So if you are contracting us for both, of course, by all means, we will be reporting the import VAT correctly. And then, of course, in certain scenarios within the UK, you have the PVA method. In France, you have the Article 43, I think it's off the top of my head, is a deferment program. And also in Netherlands, you have Article 23. So ultimately, you'll never be subject to paying import VAT, but you will be subject to paying import duties.
Yeah, but just like before, you don't have to do anything. We will do it all for you.
Exactly. So there's a few more questions. Bear in mind, we have a few more moments. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'd be more than happy to sort of answer them here and there. But so I'm going to let you take this one again.
I think this is the final one that we have on the chat, but I'm sure maybe some more will come in. So if you have Netherlands and Germany, is that enough for Pan-EU? In this case, it wouldn't. You would have to have 2 of the minimum of the core 4. So what we reiterated before. So either Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. You need to have at least 2 of those ones. And then the listings activated in Netherlands. So the situation that you're in right now wouldn't necessarily be convenient for Pan-EU. But as soon as you add another one, because you already have Germany, you would be eligible for Pan-EU.
Yeah, and I think just to sort of, reiterate that point again, the benefits of Pan-EU, for some of you may not be aware, most of you probably are, is of course, if you have it activated, you're able to send your goods into one location and inbound into one country, and Amazon will disperse those goods accordingly to the others, where naturally you have it activated and also have VAT numbers. So there's definitely a benefit. In the scenario where you only have a Dutch VAT number and the German, what we'd commonly sort of suggest is do a market analysis to see where there's a higher demand for your products. In the 3 other core countries, obviously being France, Spain, and also Italy, and sort of looking at where it would make sense to register to be able to benefit from those Pan-EU, advantages.
Yeah. Exactly. And back to the question that we had before, then you don't have the cross-border fees that maybe you wouldn't have if you're storing locally. So that would be another benefit. Another question.
Is there a benefit of having all 4 VAT numbers instead of 2? Yes, by all means. The Pan-EU program, I refer to it as a bit silly here, sort of Lego bricks. So you can build upon what you have.
Yeah.
So if you imagine, you have 2 VAT numbers in Germany and France, fantastic. You send your goods into Germany, they get moved to France. If you have VAT numbers in 4, so Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, well, then all of a sudden Amazon's going to disperse your goods to all 4 countries.
Yeah.
You're going to get better exposure on the platforms as you'll be listing with Prime. So it'll be easier to sort of rank organically, but also at the same time, in terms of the PPC side of things, it's more likely you're going to rank higher. And then, of course, if you are doing a high number of sales, your FBA fulfillment rates are going to be a lot lower because you're not doing cross-border, you're doing local fulfillment. So yes, there are certain benefits, of course, to having sort of 4 VAT numbers within Europe at the 4 core countries over 2. Any points you'd like to add to that? Or
No, I mean, that's exactly it. And what we sometimes discuss is it's not the worst situation, or it is actually a really good situation to be in to have 2, because you can always distance sell to all 27 EU countries. So you're not restricted to having 2 VAT numbers. It means you can only sell to 2 countries. From those 2 countries, you can make sales to everywhere else. And that will mean that you have information about where your clients are based. Where is my next step going to be? So use that information that you've gathered from the 2 that you have right now, and then use it to expand into your next one, which could be 3 Legos or 4 Legos, as James would call it.
Precisely. Well, here's another question in terms of Sweden. Would you like to take this one? Or
Yeah, so Sweden is a part of the Pan-EU. So if you go onto your Seller Central, it will be one of the drop downs. So you have all the countries that we've been mentioning, and then Sweden's on the last one right now. It is part of the Pan-EU, but Amazon will not move the inventory to Sweden. So it's like Netherlands, that one day you'll have to move the inventory over to the Swedish warehouse. So if you would like to do that, yes, you would need to register for VAT, and then you can activate it on the Pan-EU, move the inventory over, and have the benefits of Pan-EU. So it's an in-between. Yes, it's part of Pan-EU in terms of the benefits that you get. The only thing that's not part of it is Amazon moving the inventory. So you could, if you've seen that you have loads of customers in Sweden, it might be a good idea for you to get the VAT number, move the inventory, and get even more sales.
Yeah, I think just to sort of push that, Amazon as a whole are sort of pushing their expansion markets within Europe at the moment, primarily Netherlands and sort of Sweden. And so we will see Sweden eventually be fully part of the Pan-EU program. It's currently a little bit in limbo in terms of where it is at, but they do have warehouses, and they are going to gradually open that up to sellers to be able to store.
Yeah, like any business, I'm guessing they're seeing what the attraction is from sellers to use Sweden. And one day it will be part of the Pan-EU as a whole, and then they'll start moving inventory for sure.
So Dan, by all means, we're happy to sort of answer any questions we might be able to with regards to sort of EPR or even the Pan-EU program. Just to reiterate, in terms of what we've discussed today, it was the Avalara transfer, the end of call of stock, EPR changes, and obviously Netherlands. So if you do have any questions, do pop them in the chat. More than happy to answer. But we've got John Doe, who's decided to come in with a few questions with some prices, I believe, with regards to Singularity there. And that's with regards to the Avalara transfer, I believe, right?
Switch. Yeah, actually, every provider has different fees for the Avalara switch, but you might have been assigned a provider rather than another one. So you would have to speak to Amazon if you would like to switch providers. Our fee is €300 per country per year, and this is paid monthly, but we are giving a couple of months free. So if you would like to make use of this offer, just give us a call, and we can see if you have been assigned a VASC, and if so, then obviously you can use the fee. So it ends up being pretty much the same for every tax provider. But
exactly, I think in terms of what's being offered within the different sort of tax providers and what's actually you're getting for your money, there are differences. So do pay attention to that, of course. We will have a look here now to Sue Thompson. who, do you have a chart that would cover all of the setup fees and costs when it comes? The quick answer is I believe we do.
Yes.
So do reach out to us. I think at the end of sort of the Q&A, there will be a QR code that will be sort of put up on screen once again. So reach out to that and sort of contact us that way, and one of the team will reach out. Standard sort of procedure is giving you a full consultancy and sort of a strategy to expand or continue your expansion, along with the costs, so you have an understanding of what you're going to be facing.
And this can obviously include VAT, EPR, OSS, anything that you need. We can give you the fees, analyze it, see if it's good for your business, and then obviously we can proceed however you want.
Exactly. So
new regulations in Germany about packaging, exactly EPR. It's quite unclear if the product I sell is part of this regulation. How do I know if it will affect me, especially that I only resell products of other brands? Should I just register in case, or is there any way to go around this? So basically, to put it simple, EPR affects the producer. And by producer, we mean whoever is bringing the products into the country. So although a brand would have maybe manufactured the product, you're buying it off of that brand. If you're bringing it into the country, then it is your responsibility to have the EPR number. So by the brief explanation that you've put, I would say yes, it would be your responsibility to get the packaging registration to make sure that you, as the one bringing the products into the country and then selling them, are completely live in regulations, and you've got everything in place.
Is Belgium part of the Pan-EU program? Are there warehouses? As mentioned, Amazon are sort of pushing the expansion markets, which are actually indeed Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, Poland, and Turkey. Right now, their major focus is Netherlands and Sweden. So Belgium will eventually, in sort of the coming years, would be my assumption, be pushed to be part of the Pan-EU program. At this moment in time, it's not. I believe they only actually launched within sort of the last 2 years in terms of an actual marketplace.
Yes.
So it's still very new and they're testing things out. In terms of warehouses, there's not any at the moment to our knowledge.
No, I think it's a bit of a confusion sometimes because they do have a distribution center, but they don't have a warehouse. So the products just go there, Amazon redistribute it and send it to the different countries, but it's not a warehouse. So as James said, no, currently no warehouse, but there are 3PLs that you could potentially use, just as Netherlands send mass imports into that 3PL and then drip feed into Amazon.
Right. Do we need to register for EPR for every item that has a registered ASIN, or for only items that are active? Well, to quickly answer the question, the EPR registration you do will be associated to your company, so not to individual items and ASINs. Meaning, if you have, let's say, 5 ASINs that you're selling on Amazon, and one of those listings or a few of them have batteries, then you will need to register for batteries. If it is uploaded and it's out of stock, you'll still need to register, as Amazon will assume you are going to replenish the stock, meaning you are going to be selling a product with batteries requiring the EPR number. Now, EPR is a bit of a misunderstood thing, I believe, nowadays, because it's so new, to the extent that many people forget about it or don't take it very seriously, when actually, if you don't upload the number, it can cause huge issues in terms of suspensions or blockages on your Amazon Seller Central account. So my advice would be to get registered, be proactive, and be compliant. It is the best solution here.
Yeah, and with EPR, it's all about the category. So that's the main thing. Whereas with VAT, you have countries. With EPR, it's about category. So France has toys and textiles. So it's all to do with categories. Amazon doesn't really assign a seller. It's free to choose a service provider. Great. Obviously, at the beginning, they did send an email out saying, unfortunately, Avalara is leaving. Do you give us consent to assign you another provider? And if you said yes, then you would get one. But obviously, things change. They're moving on the 1st of November. So a lot is going to change between now and then. So it's great to hear that you can pick your own provider.
So regarding EPR, I have EPR numbers in France, Germany, and use the EPR Avast service. Do I need to obtain EPR numbers in Italy, Spain, and I'll also add in Austria? That's a forgotten one. Do you care to wish to answer that one?
So the regulation is in place. EPR is in place in all the countries mentioned, but it's not compulsory, which I guess is what people get confused here. because it's such a new thing, Amazon have said we're offering a pay on behalf scheme where they will do everything for you. And all they would do is at the end of the year, they will charge you for the eco contribution based on how many sales you've made. So the regulation is in place and you can get your own numbers. We'll be more than happy to get more numbers for you if you need them. But just so you all know that you do have those two options. If you're hesitant at the beginning, you can use the pay on behalf scheme. But just so that everyone is aware, the regulation is in place. And especially if you sell off Amazon, you would need to have your own EPR number because you obviously don't have the pay on behalf scheme. So your situation right now is fine as it is, but you can get your own EPR number if you wish. Yep.
Do you offer additional VAT filings for sales outside of Amazon? For example, your own website? And is that part of the Amazon VAT, or is that sort of a subscription to the Avast Premium? So within sort of the Amazon VAT service, obviously it's sort of targeted more towards just Amazon. Within sort of the Avast Premium, or the core service as I refer to it as, which we've been doing for sort of over 10 years now, we encapsulate sales through all platforms. So that can be the likes of sort of Amazon, Mano, Kaufland, Otto, Cdiscount, Shopify, or if you're fortunate enough to be selling into retail or wholesale. All of these transactions need to be reported within the VAT filing, and so we'll be more than happy to receive that data from you and report that on your behalf to the tax officers.
Yeah, so it is part of both services. It just differs how we gather that information. So under the Amazon VAT services, you would have to give this information yourself, fill in an Excel spreadsheet, and provide this to the Amazon VAT services for them to file. Whereas on the core services, we can deal with this more on a personal approach, and we can gather this information, do a summary, and give it to the tax offices. So again, it depends what level of service you require.
Exactly. Well, got a few more questions. Is the EPR the WE number in Germany? Or is that something different? No, you're spot on. So EPR is just sort of the general term that's used. So it stands for the extended producer responsibility. So it's sort of just the eco tax, and then you have different subcategories within the EPR, which of course are sort of the likes of packaging, WEEE, which is primarily for electronic goods, and also batteries are sort of the common three. There are other categories coming out, as we've mentioned. So the WEEE is just the electronics EPR number in Germany specifically.
Yeah, it's just another way of calling it, but it is one of the categories for EPR. Will commercial liability insurance become a requirement for selling on Amazon? Yes, by the sounds of it, it will be. I think it was yesterday night, Amazon sent a correspondence out to all Amazon sellers. So we're seeing this more and more with everything, with VAT, EPR, things are becoming slightly stricter. So if you have received the email, obviously I would pay attention to it and make sure that it applies to you. And if so, reach out and we can give you the contact of that partner. So yeah, it looks like it will become a requirement.
Right, well, I believe that might be all the questions then. If you do have any other questions, then please do reach out to us directly on sort of the Avast website or one of the QR codes that's sort of been posted throughout this broadcast. We appreciate sort of your attention, all the questions you've put in the chat. We're always here to and happy to answer these questions that come up.
And let's not forget Amazon Accelerate in September in Seattle. Hopefully see you there. The QR code was on screen before, but if you missed it, let us know. Right there on screen, you can scan, and obviously we'll hope to see you in September. But then again, if we haven't responded to your questions, or if you still have some more questions, reach out to any of us and we'll be more than happy to assist. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.